Hello and welcome back to the Decaf Bubble podcast with me, Abby. So I have been thinking a lot recently about the gap between potential and embodiment, by which I mean your potential, like what you're capable of, what you dream of, your visions, your ideas, and then embodiment being like the execution of those things, the fulfillment of potential, the realization side. I think that many of us artists, like highly sensitive artists, know that we're destined for greatness. Like we know we're talented, we know we're visionary, we know we have this huge potential. And in a way, that can even become this like burden. Like if you're like highly gifted, and this was definitely, I'm one of those people who was like very highly gifted as a child, and then it kind of becomes this almost overwhelming sense of like what you're capable of and the potential and even what everybody is expecting of you. There's like this chasm between that potential and then what we're actually able to achieve or able to embody, like realistically where we are on the path. I think that gap has the potential to be inspiring and to be a drive, like the drive to close that gap, the drive to close that chasm. But it can also feel really overwhelming and oppressive and put us in a freeze state, especially, you know, for like highly sensitive people, neurospicy people, more feminine energy people. So I also want to say, I think it's harder than ever right now to deal with that because of the amount of information and potential that we're always exposed to through media and through social media. Like there's this sense that the goalposts are constantly changing and shifting, and like it's not just the awareness of our potential and talent that, you know, we had growing up. It's also like how incredible and how explosive the creative media landscape is. Like we're living through this like creative explosion because of the internet, and like there's just so many amazing innovations happening every single day, and we're exposed to the constant update of new information and new inspiration and new. And you already know this, I don't need to tell you this, but I wanted to highlight how we can get addicted to the information, we can get addicted to just the consuming of newness, and then the actual embodiment side, which is where we like put pen to paper and we put paintbrush to canvas and we get on stage and like actually do the thing that gets us towards fulfilling our potential. Like that starts to feel less good, less rewarding, because it's harder and less instant gratification, and we just love the dopamine hits of inspiration and taking things in. But the truth is, we're only ever going to get to the point where we feel like we're fulfilling our potential and starting to close that gap of potential to embodiment through putting in the thousands of hours and getting good through repetition and through showing up and through working on our projects. And so my aim for this episode is to talk about, instead of being addicted to social media or entertainment or even just potential, we need to learn how to get addicted to our projects instead. And I believe that that's something that we can end game. You know, we can get ourselves addicted to the graft, and we can get ourselves addicted to showing up for the things that are actually moving the needle. And over the years of kind of studying myself and working out how my brain works, I have realized, like, I have experienced both sides of the coin. I've experienced the side of like feeling repelled by my projects, feeling like, oh God, like I don't want to do that, and like procrastinating over it and avoiding it. And I've also experienced the feeling of being like addicted to something that I'm working on, and just like, oh, like I'm having such a good experience and I can't wait to do it, and like I just want to fill my time with that project. So my aim for this episode is to try and share like what works for me for that process of like training and conditioning my brain to be addicted to my creativity, to be addicted to my art. And to be honest, you can apply this to anything that you want to get yourself addicted to. So rather than just kind of like falling into the patterns of like the things that are trying to get us to be addicted, like social media obviously is an example of something that's designed to addict us and doesn't ultimately serve us to be addicted to, because it's literally just farming our attention. But if we choose the things we want to be addicted to, like things that are good for us, then we can enjoy feeding that addiction and knowing that it's building something good and it's building something of quality and substance in our lives. So that is what I'm going to be talking about in today's episode. But before I get into that, I do have a very exciting announcement to make today, which is that the bubble is turning 1. The bubble is about to have its very first birthday, and I just honestly can't believe it's been a whole year, but I'm so proud of what the bubble has become and all the people who have made this community what it is. So if you don't already know, the Bubble is an online membership community that I run. It's for artists and creatives, and it's designed to provide structure and accountability and ultimately community for artists, because we are a bunch of people who are so full of ideas, full of potential, full of creativity. But in order to realize those things, in order to fulfill our potential, like I'm talking about in this episode, we really need structure. And I have found for me that the best way to achieve that is to be in community, to be part of a community where you are known and seen as an artist and you get to grow with other people who are also on that creative path. So that's exactly what my intention was when I started the Bubble. And I'm just, as I said, I'm so proud of what it's become. I feel like it's such a rich resource. There are so many classes now that I've taught inside the Bubble, which you can watch on replay. There are so many exercises and practices, and it's been so cool to see Bubble members really flourishing and committing to their creative projects and like making really tangible progress week after week, sharing what they're working on, and like we all get to see each other working on what we're doing and like cheer each other on and see the progress that's being made, and it's just such a good vibe. So it's very exciting to be celebrating 1 year of the Bubble and celebrating the Bubble's birthday. So throughout March, there are going to be some festivities to celebrate, including some free taster sessions. So keep an eye out for those. I will be mentioning them on the podcast and also on Instagram at decafbubble. And also, this is just a heads up, the doors to the Bubble are going to be closing for the first time at the end of March. So if you've been thinking about joining the Bubble, I highly recommend getting in before the doors close at the end of March. Just imagine and think where you could be a year from now if you had a community supporting you, if you were showing up regularly for work in progress circles, sharing little extracts of whatever you're working on, getting encouragement, getting feedback, learning new skills and doing your inner work and all of the good things that we do inside the Bubble. I just want you to reach your potential. I want us all to reach our creative potential, and that's why the Bubble exists. So this is your official warning that the Bubble doors are closing at the end of March, and let's get into the episode. Okay, my first tip for you, if you want to get addicted to working on your creative projects, this is the most important tip, and I'm starting with the most important one, is go cold turkey on self-criticism. Go cold turkey on self-criticism. Cut it out. No self-criticism whatsoever. And the way you're going to go cold turkey on it is you're just going to replace it with self-praise, self-encouragement, like delulu levels of self-love and self-encouragement. I had a real refresher on this concept this week because I taught a class inside the Bubble called Reconditioning for Self-Love. And as I was planning the class, I was going really deep into like where this came from for me and why I think it's so powerful. And I came across these threads that I wrote last summer when I was really practicing this so well. And I'm just going to read you the threads because for me it's kind of like a mini manifesto, like a mini statement. So I said, I went cold turkey on self-criticism and my creativity exploded. I am a safe space for my own creativity. Every time I try, I congratulate and praise myself. Every time I show up, I thank and celebrate myself. I choose to see the good in what I'm doing rather than find fault. This is a pattern I've consciously and diligently learned, and the dividends of this compound every day. I choose to back myself. I don't care if there's a better way than my way. If there's a faster way, if there's a cooler way, my way is unique and I like it. My soul has something to express. My way is always the best way for me. And just rereading those words from last year that I wrote, I was like, oh yes, that is so potent. I felt that energy come back to me of like, my way is the best way. Like, I don't care if there are other ways that people are doing things better than me. I just like my way. And I'm just going to stop self-criticizing. And as I was teaching the class on Thursday night, I was reminding myself of some of the ways that I practiced this when I was like really putting a lot of energy and attention into it. And one of the things was I had noticed that whenever I teach a class or give a workshop or, teach something in the bubble or in one of my courses, as soon as I closed the laptop, I would immediately start self-criticizing, not in like a really harsh way, but I would just immediately start kind of thinking, oh, I could have said this bit better. Oh, I could have, I didn't explain that very well, blah, 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 blah. Like I would just immediately have all these thoughts of like how things could be better. And so I trained myself, instead of doing that, every time I finish a class, I'm just going to do this thing where I close the laptop and then I just say, I did so good. I did so good. Well done me. That was amazing. That went so well. And I literally just like steamroller over any criticism, any like ideas of like what went wrong, because that's not the moment for criticism. And there are moments where criticism is helpful, like when you're kind of actually going over and analyzing and thinking like, how could I get better? But the immediate moment after a performance or after you've done something vulnerable, that's not the moment to criticize. Even if, you feel like you're being constructive, it's just not the right moment. So what I found was when I started training myself to close the laptop and then just be like, I did so good, I did so good, I did so good, then I would start to associate the feeling of doing those things, of showing up and being vulnerable, I would associate it with a positive feeling. I would associate it with like a warm glow, because I'd be like, oh yeah, I did so well. Like that's what I would remember. That's what I would feel when I think about it. And that would make me excited to do it again. It would make me excited to build on it. It would even make me excited to think, how can I improve, right? So I had got out of the habit of doing that. And then when I taught this class on Thursday, the self-love class, I was like, oh gosh, I've been really out of the habit of doing that. No wonder things have felt a little bit harder recently, because I'm making it harder for myself through my mental environment. Like I'm giving myself more to push against. And so I practiced that exact practice after the self-love class. I closed my laptop and I was like, I did so good. Well done. And honestly, the honest truth is, I didn't in that moment feel that authentically. I was kind of lying to myself. I was kind of forcing those thoughts, because the feeling I had was vulnerable, and the feeling I had was like, did that go well? I don't know. Like maybe this thing could have been better. Like all of those thoughts were automatically starting to creep in. But I just told myself, I did that practice of like, I did so well, I did so well. And then when I saw my family, I was like, they were like, how did the class go? And I was like, it went so well. It went so well. And I was just kept saying it. I was like, I did really good. The class went so well. And it was funny because at the time I kind of felt like I was forcing it, But then I realized I have all this nervous, excited energy. So let me go for a walk. And then I went for a walk and I kind of let off some of that energy. And now, a few days later, when I think about that evening, I have this like positive, excited feeling of like, that went so well, you know, and nothing was different other than how I chose to spin the story and how I chose to spin the narrative was like, that went so well. Now, when I think about it, I feel like I can't wait to teach another class. I'm so excited for March. I'm so excited for the next class that I teach because I've set it up as like, this is fun. This is something fun that I get to do, you know? And that is purely from my attitude, because either way, the class is the class. Some classes are better than others. Some people like it, some people don't, whatever. But it's about how it feels to me. And that's what gets me feeling addicted to my projects. That's what has made me for the last couple of days feel so enthusiastic about what I'm doing with the bubble and everything. Because I've just like remembered, oh, we're not doing self-criticism anymore. Like that's just not part of the process, unless it's like very specifically a moment for that kind of analysis. And I'm telling you, that's how you get addicted. So whatever it is that you're working on, just decide that you're just going to surround the whole thing with like so much affirmation, so much praise. I think you might be surprised by how easy it is with a little bit of effort at the start to train your brain to release these really positive chemicals and then get really addicted to it. So that is my first tip. Go cold turkey on self-criticism, replace it with self-praise and encouragement. And if it feels forced at first, that's such a tongue twister, it will pick up momentum so quickly. So try it out. Okay, my second tip for getting addicted to your projects is track quantity, not quality. So there is this famous quote from The Artist's Way which says, "Great creator, I will take care of the quantity, you take care of the quality." It's this idea that if we just show up regularly and just make a bunch of stuff, then at some point the muse will arrive and just like bless some of our work and be like, here you go, I'm going to make this genius, I'm going to give you this genius idea. But in order to have those moments, we have to create like a vast quantity of work. And obviously that's because we need to be there to receive the ideas, and it's also because we need to be there with the skill, and the skill comes from doing it a lot. So start to value showing up more than you value output. Start to value the quantity of how much time you put into your projects. And a little way to kind of hack this and make it like a dopamine thing is to track it. I personally get so much joy from seeing progress like visually represented. And I actually have to shout out my dad for this. My dad, who is a musician and also who happens to be insanely ADHD. He taught me this, and it's actually such a good tip. Like when I was a kid and I was learning the piano, he created this concept called bricks in the wall. And it was basically, he got this like big A3 piece of card, and he was like, every time you practice, you add a little brick, but the bricks were tiny. So it was like we were creating like a wall out of tiny bricks, and every time you practice, you like draw another brick into the wall. And so that is just, it's actually so funny because I never even finished that particular brick wall. I got maybe like a third of the way through and I still have it. But the lesson was learned, which is, and he always used to say this, little and often. Like do a little bit but often. Rather than practice for 1 hour a week, practice for 5 minutes a day. And that just builds this like momentum and this quantity of showing up. I actually learned to get really addicted to the gym this way, because I've been going to the gym now for like 2.5 years. And when I first started going, I would just show up and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes on the treadmill and I'm going to do this and that. And I made it so easy for myself that it just felt like so fun, because I would do my little workout, and then I would just go to the steam room, and then I would just leave feeling good. I would feel like, yeah, I achieved it. Because I set the bar low, like I was tracking the quantity of visits as opposed to the quality of workouts. And gradually, as I, got that routine like locked in, and it became easier to go regularly, then I gradually increased the difficulty of what I was doing. So yeah, I'm a big believer in this idea of like, make it exist first and then make it good. Just make, and just worry about the quality another time. And then you kind of trick yourself into just really enjoying it, because you're not worried, you're not putting that pressure on yourself to always be amazing. You start to have so much fun, and you start to get addicted to it. And then you make your best work anyway, because you're having fun and you're full of eros and you're full of life. So that is number 2. Track the quantity, not the quality. My third tip for how to get addicted to your creative projects is to get addicted to your own energy field. So this is more of an esoteric idea, but it's this concept of getting really intimate and familiar with your own energy, your own uniqueness, your own flavor, and then just getting addicted to it. And this is something that's hard to explain with words. It's kind of something that you can only really learn through experiencing. And so maybe you already have a sense of what I'm talking about, but it's this idea of being in your own field, being in your own aura, and just being one of one. And this is really what the concept of the bubble comes from. This is why I named my membership the bubble, and why this whole business, this whole platform is called the Decaf Bubble, because I started to experience this energetic quality of my own energy around me, and it felt like a bubble. It felt like this protective bubble that I could see out of and other people could see in, but it was like separating me from the world, and holding my uniqueness and holding my creative universe within it. And that started to feel so good to me as a very highly sensitive person who grew up, absorbing the world and feeling so like a sponge, feeling like other people's emotions are constantly in my space, and other people's expectations and ideas and influences. And as highly sensitive beings, we can sometimes have no sense of where the world ends and where we begin. And so learning to cultivate my aura, learning to cultivate my bubble has been one of the best things I've ever experienced, like top 5 human experiences that my soul came to experience. One of them is the learning what my own energy feels like, and then getting addicted to it and being like, this is me. I'm in my own bubble. This feels so good. And it's not about, I'm in a, people talk about being in a bubble as this negative thing of like not being in touch with the world or not paying attention to the world. But for me, what I found is the more I'm in my bubble, the more I'm actually able to engage with others and connect with people without like merging with them. So anyway, that's like a whole other I feel like that's like a whole thing for another time. But if this is like a new concept to you, then I would say the way to start learning what your own energy is to cleanse your energy. So you need to start practices like meditation or energy work, or even just taking a salt bath, going for a walk in nature, spending time on your own, unplugging, getting off social media for long periods of time. That's how we start cleansing our energy field, and that's how we start feeling our authentic creative energy. And in my experience, when you're full of a lot of other people's energies, or you're feeling very stimulated by social media or the things that you're consuming, sometimes that process of separation away from that can almost feel boring or dull at first because we're not used to it and we kind of crave what we're used to. It's been proven that whatever is a norm for us, our brain gets chemically addicted to it, whether it's good or bad. So anything that we're used to, we feel chemically addicted to. And even if that's like feeling really overwhelmed or feeling really negative, like we can get really addicted to those feelings. So moving outside of that norm can feel difficult at first, or it can feel boring. So don't be, put off if cleansing your energy feels boring at first, if it feels way less stimulating to sit and meditate or go on a solo walk in nature on your own. But after a while, you will start to feel that your aura is cleansed by these things. And the more you clear your own field, the more your own energy becomes palpable. And this is when the magic begins. Then you start to feel like, oh my goodness, I like being me. I like being in my own energy. I like my ideas. I like creating my world. Like, that is just the best feeling. I want everybody to experience that. Another thing that's great for cleansing your energy field and kind of cleansing your artistic palette is aesthetic pleasure and beauty. And that's why I talk so much about this as well on this podcast. And if you want a sense of what I'm talking about with that, I would say listen to the In Bulk podcast a couple of podcasts ago. I talk a lot about like cleansing rituals, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is how you connect with your own creative energy, is by cleansing and connecting with what you truly find beautiful in your soul. And once you get a little taste for that, nothing will ever come close to how that feels. So that is my final tip, getting addicted to your own energy field. I hope this episode has been inspiring, helpful, uplifting. If it has, I would really appreciate for you to let me know in some way. So the ways you can let me know you enjoyed this is by liking this episode on Substack, leaving me a rating on Spotify or on Apple, wherever you're listening to this, or even leaving a comment. I would love to hear, what this brought up for you, what you resonated with. As a projector, it really helps me to get some back and forth. Like when I get feedback, it gives me so much energy to carry on. So that would be so, so, so amazing if you could, do that. Give me a little like or share, or let me know on Instagram at decafbubble that you are listening. And until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.